So I'm David Carboni. I head up technology for Not Binary. I like to call myself the head geek. I like to stay hands-on as well as high level. So this year I got the chance to work with an organization called Policy in Practice. And they have developed what they call a policy engine. So this is a computational implementation of government policy, particularly in the area of benefits. So housing benefits for local councils, for example. So a really interesting organization, quite a small startup, but making quite an impact with the work that they're doing. So how are we doing? Yeah. So their main challenge is, because they're quite a small organization, they haven't got a lot of capacity to deal with basic incoming data from councils. And so they're quite keen to use serverless technology to automate their engine that needs quite a bit of manual work at the moment to get it working. And the business is growing. They're having a greater impact, so they need to be able to automate stuff so that more people get the benefit of it. Any luck? Still thinking about it. No worries. So I'm trying to mentally step back through the slides. So I got to work very closely with one of their key technology people. So we just kind of worked out between us. Okay, here's what you've got today. You're taking in CSVs and database query outputs, and they have to be wrangled by hand. Oh no, they have to be wrangled by hand, and then eventually run into an ETL process. Let's see if I've even typed the link in right. No. Yeah. I'm not sure it's going to work. Let's just try. No, it's fine. Just trying to think what the. Sorry about this, folks. Talk amongst yourselves for a sec. There we go. Okay, nearly there. Also not used to these touch bars. There we go. No, clearly not going to happen. It's a real shame. Not to worry. Well, I'll try and improvise anyway. So the issue they've got at the moment, they've probably got about a dozen clients or so. So they're able to take in the data, wrangle the spreadsheets manually, but it's gradually using up all the capacity of their team. So they're spending all their time on spreadsheets and not so much time on developing the business and looking after their customers. So what we were able to do is we, probably in the broader sense of serverless, so we started with the AWS transfer for SFTP. So this provides an SFTP endpoint that their clients will be able to upload what is PII data, so obviously it's got to be well looked after. This is data about individual households and benefit claims. I think that's quite a good number. I think 10 billion pounds a year in benefits goes unclaimed. So these are people who are vulnerable, who are in need, who are just not able to navigate the benefits system. It's actually quite important that these people get the money. And the benefit to the councils is that they get almost real-time visualization of how they're performing, so where the benefits are going, who they need to target, so they can prioritize their resources. So starting with the kind of SFTP endpoint, we're then bringing data into an S3 bucket, good old S3. with then a series of Lambda functions that come off that, so transforming SQL queries into CSV, cleaning up data, just making sure it's in the right format. That then triggers a Fargate container. And I think, as Brett was saying earlier, I think in my vision of serverless, if I can say that, Lambdas are small functions, containers are big functions. So to me, something like Fargate or Cloud Run is a really nice kind of serverless way of running things that don't fit into a function. So we've got SFTP to S3, we've got some cleanup functions. We're then triggering a Fargate launch. The container is a piece of legacy ETL software, essentially, that couldn't run in a function. So the only way we could do it was with a container. So that fires up, does the processing, punts the data across into RDS, and then from there, there's kind of some downstream processing that happens that ends up in a visualization dashboard that the councils can use to see their performance. So what I think is really cool about that is that there are no virtual machines in that architecture. Every piece of it is serverless, and I think that's really cool. And I was joking with a colleague yesterday that my new cloud architecture evaluation strategy is start with a score of 0. For every virtual machine that you use, subtract 1. For everything that you run that's also a managed service, so a database, or even a container scheduler, subtract 10. And finally, subtract 100 for every component that you're running on premise. And that gives you quite a nice sort of negative score. And that's a score that tells you how much pain you're going to suffer in trying to run the system. So I think, for me, I see that, that externalizing all the infrastructure, less effort, less security concerns, just less worries, focusing in on the code and the actual service that you want to provide. And this has been great for policy and practice. So now they, try to remember, there's about 3 key benefits from this. One is end-to-end encryption. So they're able to assure their clients that from the SFTP gateway to the encrypted buckets, right through to the encrypted RDS, other than, there's still some ephemeral storage in there that we could look at improving, temp files and that kind of stuff. But essentially, this data, after a couple of iterations, will be fully encrypted end-to-end. And the benefit for the councils is that they would send in the data. It would probably, it would sit in a queue. Somebody would have to work on it. It might be a couple of days before they got the feedback. What they'll be able to do now is people will upload the data, and then within minutes, they'll be able to visualize their performance for that month. And then, and this data's coming in ad hoc, bit by bit, dribs and drabs over the month, different councils uploading data. So it's really nice for the system to be reactive to those uploads, to pick them up, do the processing, and then very quickly you've got the visualization of how you've done that month for your residents. I think the other thing, the final thing that I think is really interesting for them is, at the moment, it's a very hydraulic process. There's a lot of touch on the data. So there's a lot of people handling PII data. What I think this gives them the opportunity to do is to have a very no-touch, hands-free process. So again, that plays into both speed and security. So the data's flowing through the pipeline, getting to the dashboard. Nobody's had to download it onto their laptop. It's taking away some of the security controls that they have to have around that. Speed, encryption, and robots. Just a really nice kind of serverless message there of processing stuff, not having to put in all that effort, and now they can go on and scale their business. They can roll this out to more clients. They can have more of an impact on more people. I'm quite proud to have had the opportunity to work with them, and I was really keen to bring that to this event and share the story. So, thank you.